All right, the order's going to be Lopez with an overview and then Jones with an overview. At the top, they will lose this debate. They conceded that the counterplan solves 100% of case. The Lopez counterplan functions in two different ways. The first part is the Supreme Court deciding that authority over alternative energy exceeds the scope of Congress's enumerated powers. Then the Supreme Court devolves the power to the states to do alternative energy. Next, extend Truman's in 2006 from the 1NC. The evidence indicates that only the Supreme Court has the court taking action is the only way that the states will gain autonomy. And second, extend our supplemental piece of evidence that discusses how by giving the states the rights, the states will be productive. And the second supplemental piece of evidence that says the states are better suited for competitive and cheap environmental policies. The final piece of evidence from the 1NC is Engel in 2006. By endorsing the counterplan, the states will be modeled by the federal government, thus implementing a faster and stronger environmental policy. Go to the line by line. The first argument is a do-both perm. First, a do-both perm is literally impossible. It implies that the states are given all the powers by the Supreme Court, but the federal government takes action that it's not allowed to do. Next, confusion in Russia's environmental federalism is preventing the needed for decentralized renewable energy development. They're looking for signals on how to advance. Believe no wait. Russian law does not provide sufficient mechanism for renewable energy promotion. A draft law on renewable energy has been pending since 1998, but Russia's strategy mentions the importance of decentralized applications. And, unfortunately, the PERM's arbitrary blend of state and federal authority undermines any attempt to articulate a clear environmental federalism model, Solokol in 08. One downside to constant shifting is the lack of a coherent strategy. Despite the ambitious sweep of federal environmental legislation, there was little thought given to the constitutional justification for such actions. Congress adopted environmental statutes governing a wide range of activities never before subject to federal regulation without questioning whether any such legislation might exceed the scope of Congress's enumerated powers. And, in particular, Russia requires a decentralized approach to renewable energy, ERTC in 04. 2/3 of Russian territory, with the majority of its population living in small settlements far away from each other, are not connected to a centralized energy supply. At present, energy issues in the decentralized settlements are resolved by means of a decentralized energy system. And Russia's renewable energy development is key to prevent nuclear meltdowns, slide back in 04. Russia needs a clean energy and immediate decommissioning of its old nuclear power plants. For Russia, the energy sector is the most important industry. Nuclear units will present a threat and consume lots of energy and will demand investments. No one wants a new Chernobyl, which would destroy many lives and push economical development of Russia far backwards. Old reactors must be decommissioned, and nuclear meltdowns would kill thousands and devastate the environment. This is Wasserman in 2001. Radioactive heat within today's operating reactors is the hottest anywhere on the planet. Chernobyl ran for only 4 years before it exploded. Dozens of reactors have repeatedly failed even in modest security tests. Thousands of tons of radioactive rods would rapidly melt and could yield fireballs of molten radioactive lava burning through the earth into an aquifere river. Striking water, they would blast gigantic billows of horribly radioactive steam into the atmosphere. Burns would afflict the skin of millions as the molten core raged uncontrolled for days, weeks, and years, spewing more devastation into the ecosphere. And then next, they make the argument that the states aren't able to solve because the states don't have the infrastructure nor the funding. Cross the place civil call from the 1NC, federalism leads to cheaper environmental policies solving for cost. And empirically, the states are more likely to take the initiative than the federal government. Civil call in 2008. States can start programs to address national concerns before the federal government. Consider air pollution and wetland protection. A decade before the federal government, the states have pollution control laws. A study of the wetlands shows that states are ahead of the national government in addressing the environmental concerns tenfold. And extend from the 1NC that decentralization allows for the states to act, which means that we solve for infrastructure. The next argument on the flow is that if the counterplan is uniform, that the states won't be able to cooperate and solve. One, the counterplan does not require uniformity. As explained in the overview, the states have the power. The counterplan does not mandate enforcement by all 50 states. And then, extend Engel in 2006. The federal government will model solving all issues of federal cooperation. And finally, regionalism solves. Even if the states alone can't solve, individual state action prompts regional cooperation. Engel in 2006. State greenhouse gas initiatives may develop, strengthening regional cooperation. Stronger regional coalitions could replace some of the functions fulfilled by the federal government. Climate change initiatives are unique in fostering the care of regional agreements and alliances. The next argument is that federalism is not modeled. First of all, extend Engel in 2006, federalism is modeled, and then extend from the Russia DA, the Slovakia piece of evidence. Russia is currently looking to the United States to show them what a devolved federalist model looks like. And then their next argument is that the states have no power over the military. But first of all, the states are not acting any power over the military. The states will simply be providing military the resources they need to run. The states currently provide the military oil from the refineries for the military to run. It wouldn't be any different with alternative energy. Their next argument on the flow is a PERM, do the plan and have the states do the plan. First of all, cross-apply the civil piece of evidence from the Russia scenario. That PERM would still confuse Russia by blending the federal and state authorities of government. And two, the PERM is unconstitutional. The counterplan text says that the Supreme Court rules that Congress has no power over alternative energy. This means the federal government is not allowed to take action. And finally, the PERM still links to the net benefit, the Jones DA. Go to the net benefit. Our first element piece of evidence is that Obama's selection of respected military and national security leaders has gotten him off to a good start in establishing a strong relation with the military. The second argument evidence says that the military personnel see Obama signaling an openness to the military, but they're scrutinizing his actions for signs that he's going to listen to them. Even the perception that he's putting putting his political agenda over the advice of his military advisors will devastate the military's trust in Obama. Johnson says Jim Jones, Obama's national security advisor, has publicly opposed incentive for alternative energy. Bennett says that our plan will create a rupture between Obama and the military that will take years to repair and will derail Obama's efforts to repeal DADT. White says that ending policy is key to cutting military costs and ensuring sustainable recruitment and hedge. Khalil said that hedge is the only way to deter rivals and style for nuclear conflict. Our impact will always outweigh A on probability. Our internal link evidence is more recent and more responsive to our immediate political dynamics than any other in the debate. This means you prefer it over evidence written about the Bush administration's policies. And B, the DA solves the entirety of case. In a world where the United States is the head, we'll be able to deter or at least contain any other conflict, meaning even if their internal links are true, their impacts will never be able to escalate. Now onto the link debate. Group it. The military is watching Obama like a hawk. Even the slightest perception he's not listening to his advisors will gut Obama's ability to repeal DADT. That's Ackerman and Bennett. And the plan is key to the future of Obama's relations with the military. His action will determine the success of his agenda. Ackerman in 1113. Obama met with a man who represents both an opportunity and an obstacle to his presidency. It is unsure to think about the military, Obama and the military's relations. Clinton stumbled early in his relationship with the military. Obama was white to single the military. I want your advice. Obama and the military have a productive relationship provided that Obama operates along a simple principle, not to steamroll. And the military will blame any alternative energy policy on Obama. He's pushed forward in the past, Langdell in 07. Obama introduced legislation to address the need to pull together investors and billions to need to build a synthetic fuel plant, provide funding for the DoD. And will isolate three new points. A. Jones. Johnson says Obama's national security advisors has publicly opposed alternative energy policies. He spearheaded proposals that directly contradict Obama's alternative energy policies. And Jones is Obama's key national security advisor. He controls every military policy, Klein in 12-1. Focus on Jim Jones, someone more close with McCain than Obama, with an office in the West Wing will be Jones, who has a day-to-day ear of Obama. Jones is a former Marine. He is no pushover, and he appears to be the backbone and the guy in the middle of Obama in the military. And B, readiness. A shift to alternative energy imposes a huge burden on the military procurement and training, Langdell in 07. The low-hanging fruit for improving efficiency in aircraft is re-engineering. New maintenance and operations technical manuals and training will deter military readiness. And new military spending trades off with existing military procurement and kills Obama's relations with the military, Ackerman 1113. Another challenge for Obama would be the senior officer's desire to get back to preparing and procuring for the big conventional Russia-China scenario. But the current financial crisis and massive budget deficits create their own pressures on the defense spending. And C, alternative energy. Key interests in the military oppose alternative energy, Crowley 07. To make progress toward energy requirements through reduced consumption, the DoD must change how it views and values the use of its energy, a transformation that will challenge some of the department's most deeply held assumptions, interests, and processes. And finally, none of their link terms are responsive. Our 1NC Ackerman evidence says that even if some of the groups in the military support the plan, right now the military is watching how Obama is interacting with their leaders. Even if they would support alternative energy in the abstract, they're not going to trust Obama to implement it. They don't have an internal link that assumes Obama's transition. We're going to win this on perception.